Hello everyone, this is Maha Kareem. I'm gonna present themes of Beloved by Toni Morrison. So let's start to read about Toni Morrison, the writer. She's African American novelist, editor, and professor. Her work illuminates the Black American experience. Her full name is Coley Anthony Wofford Morrison. She was born in 1931 and died in 2019. She was known for her poetic prose, epic themes, and complex nonlinear narratives. She was also awarded the 1993 Nobel Prize in Literature. She was the first African American woman to receive this honor. She wrote her novel Beloved based on the true story of Margaret Garner, an escaped enslaved woman who killed her child to prevent her from being returned to slavery in 1856. So, Beloved is written in 1987. Toni Morrison read a newspaper article about a woman named Margaret Garner who had killed her baby and tried to kill her other children and was put on a trial. Moving on, Setha reads 124 Bluestone Road, where for a brief 28 days she enjoys the fruits of freedom. On the last day, however, schoolteacher arrives to bring Setha and her kids back to sweet home. Each part of Beloved opens by referring to 124 Bluestone Road, making the house central to the novel's story. Book 1 begins with 124 was spiteful, Book 2 with 124 was loud, and Book 3 with 124 was quiet. This pattern highlights the Gothic convention of treating place as a living presence and uses personification, a key element of Gothic language. The house's address, missing the number 3, symbolizes absence and fragmentation, reflecting Beloved's missing place in the family. So, number 3 is representing Beloved. Thus, 124 becomes both a physical representation of the dead child and psychological manifestation of her spirit. Speaking of Beloved and the subconscious mind, much of human cognition operates beneath the surface of conscious awareness. We dream, remember, and feel without being fully aware of these processes. Literature, especially modernist and postmodernist works, explores these unconscious layers by rejecting linear narratives and portraying thought in its raw, unfiltered form. Authors attempt to immerse the reader in the real experience of being inside the human mind, messy, nonlinear, and deeply emotional. Trauma is processed in fragments. Authors like Toni Morrison reflect this by choosing fragmented narrative structures. Trauma resists being told in a neat chronological order. It emerges in bits and pieces, reflecting how mind tries to protect itself. Literary fragmentation is not stylistic indulgence, but emotional accuracy. About the challenge of reading complex texts. Books that mirrors actual thought processes often confuse readers. For example, Beloved reflects trauma, memory, and emotional chaos, hence omits narrative clarity. You are not meant to understand this text and find the clarity in it. Instead, readers might feel lost trying to understand who is speaking, what time period is the story in, or how events are unfolding. But this frustration mirrors real life, and that's what's meant by the book, where we often lack of clarity, struggle with uncertainty, and live amidst emotional and temporal confusion. Embracing discomfort in reading. When reading texts like Beloved, readers are encouraged to sit with discomfort and uncertainty. Rather than grasping for a clear plot or explanation, the challenge is to observe the emotional and psychological truth of the experience. The reading becomes an act of patience and vulnerability, where understanding emerges gradually, like walking through darkness and moving slowly toward moonlight. Beloved replicates human thought. Human minds constantly shift between past, present, and future. We relive memories, anticipate events, and interpret the present through emotional filters. Beloved is mimicking this process, creates a fragmented but emotionally honest depiction of thought. These stories may abandon structure and coherence, but it evokes a deeper reality, the mental landscape of trauma, love, fear, and memory. The power and reality of memory. Memory is not a passive act of recall, it's an active, living, and emotionally present. In Beloved, Morrison treats memory as a form of reality. The absence of someone doesn't diminish their emotional presence. This idea is central to Beloved, where the memory of the baby becomes a living entity, haunting the characters and shaping their actions. How to tell history. I refuse to believe that that period or that thing, slavery, is beyond art, because the consequences of practically everything we do, art alone can stand up to it. It's not the historian's job to do that. You will get some truth out of it. That's not just the province of the natural or social sciences. Inherited stories and the role of art. We all inherit stories, and they matter. They impact how we live and what we feel, so they must be treated ethically and carefully. Toni Morrison acknowledged the difficulty of writing about slavery, saying she didn't want to dredge up the whole thing, but felt she had to. In fact, she doesn't even name it directly, saying the thing, referring indirectly to slavery. She rejected the idea that any topic, even slavery, is beyond art, arguing its consequences shape everything we do. Morrison emphasized that capturing truth is not only the work of historians or scientists. For many people, history books are not enough to evoke a visceral response. She believed that to reach the emotional core of traumatic events, especially those affecting entire communities, we need stories, personal, emotional narratives, and that reveal deeper truth. History alone cannot convey that. Speaking of symbols, the ghost in Beloved symbolizes repressed trauma. It's not simply a supernatural figure, but a representation of collective memory and unresolved suffering. The character Beloved is both Seth's daughter and a symbol of all those lost and forgotten in slavery. Seth's back, marked with scars described as chalky cherry tree, serves as both a literal and symbolic representation of pain. It's viewed differently by Sitha and Poldi, showing how trauma can be seen as poetic or horrific depending on one's perspective. Each one is interpreting this uh, chalk cherry in different way. Morrison presents love not as purely redemptive but as messy and sometimes destructive. Sita's act of killing her child comes from love twisted by extreme fear and protection. The novel asks whether such acts can be judged and what love looks like under oppression. Going back to Beloved, Beloved represents more than Sita's daughter. She evokes the horrors of the Middle Passage. Her language and behavior echo the experiences of those lost in transatlantic slave trade, making her a symbol for unnamed and unacknowledged suffering. Amy Denver, a white, indentured servant, helps Setha give birth. This act of unexpected kindness contrasts with the cruelty of slavery. Naming her daughter after Amy immortalizes the moment of compassion, showing how empathy can transcend divisions. The role of the community in healing. In the final act of the novel, the community plays the essential role in Sita's salvation. Initiated by Denver's courageous decision to break her family's isolation and humbly ask the neighborhood women for help. The women, who had long shunned Setha due to fear and judgment over her infanticide, gather at 124 Bluestone Road to perform a communal exorcism, effectively driving out Beloved, the physical embodiment of the trauma of slavery. This collective intervention reintegrates Setha into human circle, proving that the deepest wounds of the past cannot be healed by individual effort or self-destructive love alone. Toni Morrison's powerful message here is that true liberation and the possibility of tomorrow are secured only through communal support and reacceptance. The community's final act of gathering is a necessary spiritual cleansing, teaching that survival requires shared memory, collective love, and the strength of the many to finally overcome the destructive legacy of the past. Reading some lines from the book. "Your love is too thick," he said. "Too thick?" she said. "Love is or it ain't. Thin love ain't love at all." "Yeah, it didn't work, did it? Did it work?" he asked. "It worked," she said. "I should have gone on back there, take my babies back there." "You got 2 feet, Setha, not 4, he said. And right then a forest sprang up between them, trackless and quiet. Quotation analysis. This quote occurs at a critical point where Poldy is reacting to Setha's confession of killing her child beloved. It marks the profound and painful psychological break between the two characters. You got 2 feet, not 4. This line is Poldy's accusation and a condemnation of Setha's desperate act. Dehumanization. This phrase is a directly reference to the language of slavery. At Sweet Home, the master schoolteacher categorized the enslaved people's characteristics, distinguishing between their human two-footed and animal four-footed traits. The implication. By using this language, Poldy is unconsciously echoing the slave owner's judgment. His suggestion that Setha's act of infanticide, driven by extreme love and fear, was a savage or inhuman act, thereby stripping her of her humanity in his eyes, just as the slave system had done. The shock. It highlights the chilling reality that dehumanizing logic of slavery has been internalized by the very people who suffered from it. The moment shows that even after physical freedom, the legacy of slavery continues to destroy relationships and prevent true intimacy and understanding between the survivors. The forest is now real, a symbol of the huge painful distance that has suddenly opened between them. This is not a physical wall, but an emotional one given real weight and form by their trauma. Poldy's movement revealed his inner struggle and his deep shame. He's trying to leave, but he can't rush it. He's planning his escaping, confirming that leaving Setha feels like running away. Setha knows exactly why Poldy is leaving. Her internal thoughts show her quiet, crushing pain and her sad realization that she can't peer another goodbye after he has already judged her. So she saves both of them from that final devastating word. Her reply is a soft, muffled whisper coming from the very place of separation. She's saying, "So long." This simple "so long" is her way of accepting the inevitable. The words are lost across the symbolic forest, confirming that their connection is broken now.